Hi, my name is Paul, and I'm one of the professional science tutors for the Learning Commons here at UNT Dallas. Today, I'm going to talk to you about reading the assigned textbooks for your classes and how to not get lost or become intimidated by the amount of information they hold. During this presentation, we will discuss 3 separate strategies for how to effectively read your textbooks: what to do before you read, what to do while you read, and what to do after you read. And after this presentation, I hope to leave you feeling more confident about how to tackle reading the information presented to you in your textbooks. So before we dive in discussing those 3 strategies, it's important that you understand your textbook's layout. This is because many textbooks provide you with the tools you need to perform effectively on your exam. So let's take a look at the first example, the assigned textbook for General Biology 1 and 2. This textbook holds a total of 56 chapters broken down into 8 separate units. Over the course of the 2 separate semesters, you will learn the information presented in all 8 of these units. So let's take a look at one of the chapters out of this textbook, Chapter 3. Chapter 3 covers the topics of water and life. Upon first glance, this chapter can seem incredibly long and difficult, but luckily the textbook's layout makes it less intimidating. All chapters in this textbook are separated into sections known as key concepts. This means that within each section of this chapter, a key concept on the topic of water and life is discussed. We can see that for Chapter 3, it's separated into 3 sections or key concepts: polar covalent bonds, 4 emergent properties of water, and the acidic and basic conditions that affect living organisms. After each key concept has been discussed, at the end of the section is a concept check. This feature allows you to stop and review what was presented to you in that section. Here you can make connections between the information that you read and information from previous chapters, develop visual skills, answer short answer questions, and apply your knowledge. Another important feature provided by this textbook is the summary of key concepts. By the sound of the title, it is easy to recognize that this is the portion of the textbook that focuses on summarizing the entire chapter. The summary is broken up into the same sections presented to you at the beginning of the chapter. It is highly recommended that you read this portion of the chapter before your class's lecture. This is because the summaries shown here are short and concise and allow you to gain an understanding of what is to be discussed during the lecture without getting lost in the details of it all. The last feature about this textbook that I'd like to mention is the test your understanding section. This is one of the most important features about this textbook and is essential to your success. The test your understanding feature provides you with a series of practice questions in order for you to test your knowledge regarding the material from the chapter. The questions are broken up into levels and increase in difficulty as you move forward. Along with reading the summary of key concepts, it is important and highly recommended that you answer these practice questions provided for you at the end of every chapter. Not only does it offer you a chance to review the material, but also in the past, it has been shown that professors will use some of these questions on their exams. The next example, we will take a look at the assigned textbook for Organic Chemistry 1 and 2. The layout of this textbook closely resembles that of the biology textbook. It will also help you to know that most STEM textbooks have very similar layouts. The Organic Chemistry textbook holds 27 chapters that are divided between 2 separate semesters, Organic Chemistry 1 and Organic Chemistry 2. Each chapter of this textbook is separated into individual sections that will focus on key areas. For example, in chapter 5 of this textbook, we look at 3 different sections: an intro to stereoisomerism, using the Kahn-Ingold prelog system to name things and assign priority, and understanding optical activity. Just as we saw in the previous textbook, each chapter in the organic chemistry textbook is separated into key sections that we will cover on this topic of the chapter. For example, here we have chapter 3, which covers the topics of acids and bases. Chapter 3 is broken down into 9 separate sections, all of which will present material related to acids and bases. The next feature of this textbook is the skill builder, which is provided after each section. Here, students are given the opportunity to learn the skills discussed in each section, practice the skills, and finally, apply the skills. This feature is an excellent way to quite literally build upon your knowledge and gain a stronger understanding of the content from each section. It is recommended that you not tirelessly skip over this section, but take time to read through it and practice. One of my favorite features of this textbook is the medically speaking feature. This portion is present within each chapter and allows students to relate the topic being presented in the chapter to real-world medical and pharmaceutical applications. Here, you're able to recognize that what you are learning has real-world and everyday applications to your health and quality of life. Now, the last 2 features of this textbook are also very similar to the previous textbook. The review of concepts and vocabulary functions as a short and concise review of each section within the chapter. We highly, highly recommend you set time aside before attending your class lecture to read this review. Students that utilize this feature of the textbook have been shown to follow the professor in their lecture a lot easier than students who do not use this feature. Lastly are the practice problems. Just as the textbook prior to this one, the practice problems are there for you to complete. The practice problems are divided into the same sections presented at the very beginning of the chapter. Again, it is highly recommended that you complete these practice problems in order to ensure academic success. So, after that review, you should now be able to answer the question, why is it important to know your textbook's layout? Hopefully, your answer is that it's important because your textbook possesses the many tools you need in order to perform well in your course. To finish off this presentation, I will now go over the 3 strategies for how to read your textbook. The first is what to do before you read. Before you begin, it's best to brainstorm ideas on what you believe the chapter will cover. This will enhance your retention of details because you've primed your brain prior to reading. Next, read the chapter objectives and headings so that you know what content the chapter will be covering. Read the bold and italicized words. You'll want to become comfortable with the vocabulary presented to you. Finally, read the chapter summary. This will help you to gain a general understanding of the topics and concepts before diving into the specifics. Next up is the most anticipated strategy, what you should be doing while you read. While you read, ask yourself what you already know about this concept. This will help you connect ideas and enhance your understanding. If what you are reading starts to become complicated, try reading aloud. This will also help with retention. Write summaries of the main ideas on your lecture notes. Be selective in what you highlight. You don't want to make the mistake of turning your textbook into a coloring book. To avoid highlighting too much, read the paragraph first and then go back and highlight key sentences or phrases. Finally, it is important to anticipate test questions while you read. A nice way to do this is by writing your own questions in the margins of each paragraph that you've read. Finally, the last strategy is what to do after you read. By this point, many students have the false idea that after they read a chapter, they are pretty much done. However, this is certainly not the case. After you read, one of the most important things you want to be sure to do is apply or test what you know. An easy way to do this is by answering the test questions you created while reading. Recite the main ideas of what you read to someone else. This also enhances your retention. Try teaching what you read to one of your classmates. Studies show that students who spend time teaching what they've learned go on to show better understanding than students who do not. Review the material. Try your hardest to avoid reading and not reviewing the content. 24 hours after you've read the chapter, go back and spend 15 minutes looking over your notes. And last but certainly not least, answer the textbook chapter questions. Well, that completes our discussion on how to read your course textbook. Thank you for listening. Before you go, I'd like to leave you with an important quote. The mark of a successful college student is the mastery of knowing not only what to study, but also how to study it. As you embark on your journey towards academic success, please keep this statement in mind. And if you need any further academic support or have any additional questions, please feel free to contact the UNT Dallas Learning Commons. You can call or text us at 469-630-1419. For writing questions, you can email us at lcwriting@untdallas.edu. And for STEM questions, you can email us at lcstem@untdallas.edu. I hope that you all have a great semester.